Every year, everybody start popping out with these Spotify numbers. So they got all of us chasing that.
But French Montana not only dropped Mac and Cheese 5, but he dropped Mac and Cheese 5 acapella version, slowed version, sped up version, instrumental, and then he dropped Mac and Cheese 5 versions, which is literally every version that I just listed put together on one album.
A 6-hour album? A 6-hour French Montana album?
DIY.
Okay, DIYers, over the last week, rapper French Montana released a new project amongst a series of projects called Mac and Cheese Volume 5. This project was met with a lot of controversy. However, before we get to the controversy, we got to get to something else that he said that has a lot of people doing the Scooby-Doo sound. And it has to do with this idea that streaming has got a lot of rappers brainwashed. He says that on the Clue radio podcast hosted by the legendary DJ Clue. And DJ Clue starts it off by posing a question. How do you feel about the state of hip hop, where it's going? And he goes down a rabbit hole of his opinions of how he feels like music streaming, specifically Spotify, is brainwashing rappers. What do you mean, French Montana?
Now, how do you feel about, the state of music right now, man? Because they're trying to say that hip hop is on the decline, man.
I mean,
how do you, as French Montana, step into the booth, step into the studio like, yo, I'm gonna change the narrative?
I think you gotta scratch the surface and really take a step, take a step back, right? They really fucked us up and brainwashed us because, every year everybody start popping out with these Spotify numbers.
Right.
Everybody be like, look how much I did a year. You know what I'm saying? Those Spotify numbers, when everybody put them shits up, it's almost like you hustling on the block. And you take the nigga that gave you the G-Pack or gave you whatever work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you throwing it up on your page like it's yours, right? Not knowing that 5% of that is yours. You know what I'm saying? So they got all of us chasing that and not even knowing that we just showing stacks that don't even belong to us, that belong to the label. We all brainwashed who's gonna have the biggest numbers. It's taking the love out of music. People are not making the music that they love no more. People are chasing those numbers.
So
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
my reaction was probably like many of my peers when I first heard that from French Montana. It's interesting to hear that. Not that he doesn't have a right to express how he sees things and views things. He's been in the game for a very long time and has had a lot of success, specifically in streaming. However, there have been many narratives, allegedly, a lot of narratives out there about his willingness to boost some of those numbers via streaming. So this is one of them situations where it's like, yeah, that's a message a lot of us have been sharing. But I think a lot of people was like, but why are you saying it? What's going on? I start to think that whenever a rapper starts to talk like this, they either got a better situation than what they had when they were playing the quote unquote game, or maybe they got some insight they didn't have before. With that said, I think as we dive deeper, you're going to see some of the stuff that I kind of unwrapped in the process.
How you chase those numbers? You go to Rap Life, you go to Rap Caviar, you go to whatever it is. This is what the best songs sound like. I got to make a song just sound just like that. That's why every time a number one hit, everybody try to make the beats just like it. Listen, nobody's going to their own roots. Niggas ain't standing on nothing. Niggas ain't standing on no style. Niggas don't want to wake up and look like them. Let's just start there.
That's a fact.
I decided to share that because, obviously I'm on my propaganda spree. Don't worry about me. Obviously, I chose to share this on my Twitter because it's a lot of the stuff we've always echoed of why do we invest so much time to big up these companies that merely see us as employees that need to meet a sales quota? Why do we share the Spotify Wrapped with more aggression than we share our own album after it has been released for a month? Why do we go so hard for that company that pays so little for the work that you put in on your music? And then someone brought up a point that I had no idea about, and then it led me to another post. Did you know that French Montana's new project, the one we mentioned earlier, the Mac and Cheese Volume 5, has 126 songs?
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
Yes, no typo. It has 126 songs, as documented here by Off Record Sounds. Shout out to Off Record Sounds. He says, believe it or not, French Montana posted 126 song versions of his new album last night, and it's been all over the internet as fans of artists such as Kanye have been claiming that he's nuked their Spotify profiles. He posted 6 album versions too. It easily has the most egregious violation of a trend we as music listeners have been witnessing over the past year. What trend could that be? Well, I'm going to navigate over to this other video to get a little bit more insight. Shout out to I Used to Be Paid. We have reacted to content in the past by I Used to Be Paid. He has a title here that's even more hilarious. He says, these rappers are embarrassing themselves for streams. What do you mean?
Music has become more streaming based. A lot of artists are trying to find ways to increasingly make more money because there's been a lot of conversations about streaming not really paying that well, or streaming not paying as well as the artists think it should. There's been a lot of conversations about CDs and radio play back in the day paying way more than the streaming services do now. Facts. Even somebody like Snoop Dogg famously complained that he had like 1 billion streams and that paid out to $45,000. So there's been a lot of conversations about this, and obviously in order to make more money off of streaming, you need more streams. So everyone's been trying to figure out how to get more streams. But as of recently, rappers have just gotten super ridiculous in their methods of getting more streams. Streaming is the dominant way that music is platformed and listened to, and it's still like relatively new, and people are looking at this puzzle, trying to figure it out, trying to figure out how to play it. And the top method that has kind of come from this is the quantity method. And what I mean by that is literally just dropping as much as possible to give yourself the most opportunities possible to get the most streams possible.
We've talked about this a few different times in that
Somebody gonna have to tell the truth, and I'm gonna tell it.
when you dangle 0.003 or whatever specifically it is to your streaming platform of choice, the artists have gone the route of quantity. Some may even call it, to a certain degree, the Russ model. And that has been their way to push the amount of money that you can get paid because, you know, the whole argument versus physical has always been, at least for them, is that when someone buys the album, you only get paid that one time and then they go on about their business. But in streaming, it's endless. You can get an endless amount of streams unless you don't reach 1,000 in a calendar year, but that's neither here nor there. A lot of music has been sacrificed. The quality of music has been sacrificed. And you can see it in artists that are putting out things that are half-hearted, not the best sounding music in their catalog. Some of them don't even really have a rhyme or reason, it seems at times. They just want to just make sure they have music that basically checks off boxes and not music that creates moments. Music producers, rappers, and singers, are you looking to get some constructive feedback on your newest music? Joining Critique My Beats is super easy. All you got to do is reserve a pass at critiquemybeats.com. Click on book a slot and choose if you want to get 1 beat review, 2 beat reviews on our live stream every Monday. Best beat and best song of the night is going to win a cash prize. Join us at critiquemybeats.com.
For example, if I'm an artist and I'm about to drop a 15-song album, instead I'm going to drop a 25-song album to give myself more opportunity to get more streams. Now, some of those songs that are going to end up on the 25-song album probably wouldn't have been there if this was only dropped on CD or iTunes where everyone had to buy it regardless. But because it's on streaming services, I'm going to throw a couple of them extra songs on there. Or even when it comes to dropping singles. For example, look at somebody like JT from the City Girls. She just recently dropped a single not that long ago called Sideways. So when you went to go download Sideways, when you went to go play Sideways, when you found it on her page on Apple Music or Spotify, when you clicked on it and downloaded it, not only did Sideways come with it, but the song No Bars came with it as well, which is already a much bigger song, a song that everybody already likes, but you pair it with that new song in order to run up the streams for that new song. So
it looks similar to when we were talking to Brian Z from Audiomack when he was talking about the waterfall method of packaging streams a certain way, kind of like almost, I guess, in the same sense as a maxi single to a certain degree, where they're packaging these up not necessarily as official projects, but they're just bringing a bunch of, it's almost like a DJ pack is what I was going to refer to, and they're finding ways to finesse it. And I'm just like, are people just stepping on the product at this point? Like, they're already stepping on the product, right? They're already diluting the thing that most of them should be caring the most about, which is the music, since that's the reason why any of us care about what they do. But now they're even dicing down the one thing that is working for them. And I assume it's because it's not making the money that they either have made or think they should make. So they got to get creative.
So everyone's been trying to put together this quantity method. You can even look at somebody like Taylor Swift. What happens when she re-releases her music? Now, obviously, there's a whole backstory with that. It's not just Taylor Swift just re-releasing music. It's not that simple, but you can see that this quantity method is real and everyone is using it. And this is a thing that's been happening for a while now, but this weekend, it just got to a point where it was just ridiculous. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I just had to say something. And that was with French Montana's release of his newest album, Mac and Cheese 5. Now, I have not listened to the album. I have nothing to say about the quality of the album. I don't know. It might be the best album that's ever been released ever. I'm not that big of a French fan, so I doubt it, but who knows? But French Montana not only dropped Mac and Cheese 5, but he dropped Mac and Cheese 5 acapella version, slowed version, sped up version, instrumental, and then he dropped Mac and Cheese 5 versions, which is literally every version that I just listed put together on one album for a runtime of 6 hours.
Somebody gonna
A
have to tell the
6-hour
truth.
album? A 6-hour French Montana album? Which one of y'all sent that request in? 126 songs it reads here. These niggas are uploading music to the DSPs like it's Bandcamp. This is crazy. So as you can see, for this versions of the 6 versions, he has a song called Dirty Bronx. That's an intro. There's a sped up version. There's a slowed down version. I'm assuming because of the popularity in sped up and slowed down versions on TikTok specifically. I think part of the charm of why that's successful is the fact that it didn't come from some kind of fucking marketing plan. The fact that it happened organically, the fact that it was a fan or a perceived fan, because I would not put it past anybody who's on a major label that they wouldn't have somebody employed to look like a fan to do that, to help hopefully make it go viral. But then when I did some research, I was like, I don't think French Montana's on a major label right now. The newest project is under the Coke Boys Records imprint, which at some point had ties to Rock Nation, at some point had ties to Bad Boy. But this one is a independent release underneath an exclusive license with Gamma. So I got to talking to ChatGPT like I do sometimes. I said, ChatGPT, who is Gamma? Gamma was created by Larry Jackson, a former Apple Music executive. It's a pioneering music distribution platform aimed at empowering artists. It revolutionizes the way music is created, distributed, and monetized, granting artists unprecedented control over their output. With Gamma, artists can secure a larger portion of their earnings, reflecting Jackson's vision for a more equitable music industry. The platform marks a significant move towards a transparent, artist-focused music ecosystem. Is it me, or is there a lot of direct-to-consumer conversation? And I'm not saying that it's solely inspired by any content that I've made within the last few years, but there's a lot of artists, specifically French Montana, who I feel like have at some point benefited off of that other system that are now becoming very critical of that said system. You don't think it's odd that this truth comes to light now that we know that he's distributing through Gamma, which gives the artist more control? You can actually go to the website and they describe some of these features. Gamma website, which describes its ability to allow artists to have more connection with their audience. It allows them to utilize more direct-to-consumer opportunities as well as distribute their music through their platform. I started digging a little bit deeper. I hate to judge Gamma because I want to do more research on it, but I saw this post and I had about enough. Look at this caption. I'm going to explain why. The caption reads here on this post on their Instagram: "It's 1 month away and the anticipation is high across the board for Usher's Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show and his new album Coming Home. Fun fact, Usher is the first independent artist to ever play the Super Bowl halftime show. Gamma is defining a new era of independence." Are we really calling Usher an independent artist right now? I know what it says on paper. I know that he's not attached to a traditional major label. Are you going to convince me Usher is an independent artist now? We need another term for that. I think that's an unfair categorization of things. See, this starts to make all of this conversation that we're starting to see about let's go direct to consumer. I don't think anymore that it's about these artists waking up and all of a sudden having a change of heart. No, I think that there's been somebody in tech, I'm not going to say it's Larry because I don't know if it's Larry Jackson, but it's somebody in tech that's convinced them there's another way. And there is another way. But I feel like what's getting ready to happen, if I'm using my Cleo future telling powers, they're getting ready to gentrify this here independent conversation. You can't get rid of the fact that there's so many independent artists right now that are killing it and doing their thing. But they're going to get ready to gentrify it. They're getting ready to make it diet independence, alt dependence. They need another word for that. There's no way in hell that you convince me. Even to a certain degree, Kanye, I love the fact that he is so free thinking and he's doing things that are so revolutionary. He ain't no motherfucking independent artist. You ain't another argument in the world. You gonna tell me this man independent? This is the issue that I am now drawing with this sudden surge in conversation around independence and ownership when it comes to music. When it's people that went to go sleep with the devil, first of all, we don't want to hear you on these podcasts talking about how evil his bedroom is, how hot his bed is. You made a deal. You also benefited off of it. This positions you to be something that is not quite independent, even in your new independence. But you cannot stand on, hey, I built this thing from the ground up by myself. No, there's a machine that you utilize. There's a structure that you utilized. And because of that said structure, it now supports you in your newly found independence. So now DIYers, you know what I'm thinking? DIY. They're not worried about getting rid of independent artists. Why get rid of you? That's not fun. When we can gentrify the whole thing and redefine it and make you feel like, well, you're not even quite independent. Usher just did the Super Bowl. Yeah, because it's Usher. Someone who has lived in the limelight since my way with icicles. You're not going to convince me. That is the same grind as an independent artist that is coming from top to bottom, who has limitations upon the press, limitations upon the access that they have to certain mediums because of the relationship that these corporations have with certain entities. You're not going to convince me now that that's independence, because you know what that does? It starts to make those who are truly independent, who have been direct to consumer for years and years and years, it makes them seem like you're not working hard enough. Look at that independent artist, Usher. And the other independent artist, Kanye. And French Montana. This is not what we're doing in independence, is it? Is it? I think it is. So yes, the streaming has definitely been brainwashing rappers. Brainwashed them right into thinking that this now means independence. These are my thoughts. DIYers, you let me know yours. DIYers, if you enjoyed this content, make sure that you hit the like button and maybe even consider subscribing. Come on, man. Stop being greedy. Peace.